Welcome to the UCLA Anderson Drive Time Podcast. My name is Dylan Stafford. I'm one of the assistant deans here at UCLA Anderson, and I am your host. Today I have a very special guest. Brandon Cole is a member of the class of 2020. He is halfway through his MBA program. He is busy, as you can imagine, being an entrepreneur here at Anderson. We're going to hear his story. He's created a company called Maestro with the time and talents of his own passion combined with 4 other incredible classmates. So please welcome with me, Brandon Cole.
Thanks, Dylan.
Thank you for going first. This is the first one we're putting on video.
I'm honored and nervous.
Well, that makes 2 of us, so we'll get that out of the way. So I think for those of you who are watching or listening, I think we're going to start with kind of raise the bar just a little bit. We're going to start with watching a short video about Maestro, and then we'll resume. So with no further ado, let's see a video that Brandon has produced about Maestro.
I joined this MBA program to launch an AI-based platform called Maestro that will assist screenwriters with Hollywood story development, because I didn't know how I'd go about building a team for something like this outside of a startup-focused graduate program like Anderson. Because of the peer group on this campus, I now have the help of a lead engineer from a major tech company and a well-rounded team with careers in finance, strategy, and mobile apps.
Because our classmates come from such a wide variety of industries, it's relatively easy to put together a team of people with complementary skill sets to help push your project forward.
I've met so many different people that I would have never met outside of the school system.
The student sitting next to you may be from Apple, or maybe just flew in from New York, kind of a brain trust that you can't get from the outside world.
Before coming to Anderson, I used my engineering skills to collect a paycheck. As a co-founder on the Maestro team, I'm using those same engineering skills to build an exciting new AI platform for screenwriters.
This program also helped me attract a mentor and strategic partner whose AI company built our prototype and who has been coaching our team.
LA is a city where technology and entertainment marry. And that's one of the same patterns I see in Brendan's team. Their team has deep and diverse domain expertise, and this complementary skill set is vital for startup success.
I call this campus an envelope of serendipity because it's a place where accidental but awesome relationships happen.
That is an excellent piece of work. I really love that. You make it look so effortless. And Samantha, Taylor, Anapan, and Aaron, they're all along the ride for you, with you on Maestro. So why don't I kind of hand it over to you and get everybody up to speed. What is Maestro? How did you come to be doing it? What's the game you're playing, and how's it going so far?
Well, I'll start with the elevator pitch for Maestro.
I love it.
Maestro is a virtual screenwriting assistant that will make it as easy to write a Hollywood movie as it is to create a beautiful website with tools like Wix or Squarespace.
Nice.
And by making it easier for everyone to try their hand at screenwriting, we hope to bring more diverse and creative voices forward to populate the cultural landscape.
Wow. Okay. All right. So that's a mouthful. So
Yeah.
I'm not in Hollywood. I don't quite know. I mean, I know there are scripts. I know they get read. So tell me the business problem that you're wrestling with as you create Maestro.
Well, many screenwriters, most people writing a screenplay, I should say, do not aspire to be a screenwriter.
Really? Okay.
It's the actor writing the script he or she aims to star in.
Nice.
Or the young filmmaker like I was at a time writing the script he or she hopes to direct.
Okay.
And they don't pursue this elongated career trajectory as a screenwriter where they're in classes and screenwriting groups and really getting to know the complex myriad matrix of genre-specific rules of Hollywood story development. And so they end up submitting this screenplay, which they think is finished, but there's a disconnect between their finished screenplay and the level that Hollywood considers a finished screenplay to be.
Okay, so it's a work in progress. It's their best effort, but they're not really trained in the craft.
Right. As a screenplay reader, I would get to page 2, 3, 4, or 5, or not even that. I would flip through a screenplay and see, for instance, that there's just too much ink on the page, and have a sense of fun of throwing it in the garbage can.
Wow.
And that happens several thousand times a year with amateur writers' work that simply gets thrown away.
And they don't know better. They're artists. They've got the germ of the idea, but it's not presented in the way it needs to be professionalized or to be forward motion able.
Correct. And I'm not just talking about screenplay formatting. There are plenty of software applications out there for that. I'm talking about genre-specific rules. For instance, the writer submitting a script that he or she thinks is the next Mission Impossible franchise installment, but they didn't know that Tom Cruise is supposed to be running 3 times between page 25 and 75. Or someone writing the horror film that's not aware that we should falsely spook the hero 2 times on like page 10 and page 18 before someone actually gets killed. It's these genre-specific rules that we're using artificial intelligence, natural language understanding, and pattern recognition to help new writers navigate.
That is amazing. So now part of me thinks, well, you're going to take the fun out of the art, but it's not really. It's more like supporting the artist such that the pulses, the pulses are there that you want to have the art really resonate. Is that a way to understand it?
There's a quote by Pablo Picasso. You must learn the rules like a pro in order to break them like an artist.
Ooh.
And
wait, stop. Let's repeat that. You must learn the rules like a pro in order to break them like an artist?
Correct. And so in Hollywood story development, there are, like I said, there's this matrix of rules that are very hard to learn like a pro in order to break them like an artist. And Hollywood screenplays use mathematical equations to make those movies work on us emotionally, because those screenplays use well-worn patterns that go back to ancient mythology. The Hollywood story development ecosystem relies on these rules to both create and critique new material. So failure to adhere to these structural rules will kill the unborn career of an aspiring screenwriter. And our application, Script Maestro, will help writers navigate this matrix of rules so that their work lands emotionally when the Hollywood agent, producer, or star is reading it. I have a friend who's a professional script doctor. Studios hire him when a project they're developing just isn't working. And the development executives just feel it when they read the screenplay, that something is missing. He calls it emotional math. And so when he takes the script and works on it, he knows the rules so well. He can violate them left and right. But he's learned the rules like the pro, and he's breaking them like an artist. But his mental construct is that the emotional math needs to add up when the audience leaves the theater. And so by training people on these rules with our platform, we aim to get people up to speed quicker. So maybe out there's like a really creative voice that would otherwise not have tried their hand at writing a movie, or would have encountered way too much rejection and just called it quits after a year. We hope to, our big grand goal is to bring more of these people forward and bring more of their voices and their creativity to the big screen.
Wow.
Or the Netflix show or what have you.
Well, I mean, and the world has got room for more content these days. I mean, it's the world we're in. Like if you have a story, I mean, there's so many new channels available to have your story be told.
Right.
But you still have to get over the hurdle of putting your story in front of people in the right way, basically. The industry norm that tells people this is legit.
And it's for the purpose of creating the proper emotional experience for the audience watching that television show or movie. It's not just to live up to these rigid standard rules in Hollywood. at the heart of what I'm trying to do with this application is create more content that lands emotionally with the humans in the audience.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah. Okay, so it's not just like you said, it's not a script polishing. If it's a horror movie, there needs to be suspense and shock.
A horror movie is a very specific commercial product, and when we as an audience, especially horror fans, see the trailer and see the one sheet and buy the ticket, they're expecting certain genre conventions. Should they be shortchanged? Should the audience be smarter than the filmmakers about what a horror movie is? Wow, are they going to pan that film?
Yeah.
And it's usually the case that there's some emotional math that's off balance. That some of those horror genre conventions were either followed too rigidly or they just went missing. It's great when those conventions are subverted by filmmakers and we feel surprised. And so I would love my platform, the culture of our platform, to live on the second end of that Picasso quote, where people are breaking the rules like an artist. But we're still, the emotional math of the story still adds up, and we're still satisfied. Our primal being is still satisfied by that story.
Humans love stories. They're as old as we are. When we quit pointing with sticks and created language, we started telling stories. And people can remember a story way longer than they'll remember a fact or a figure or any piece of data that you can put in front of them. Well, okay, now you have a film background. You went to NYU and studied film and television at the Tisch School. So you're I love, in my admissions accountability, I love to admit people who are, who bring a little different point of view. So you're not the typical MBA student, but it's not just because of your unique background that you are doing what you're doing with Script Maestro. So how long have you had the idea, or how did the idea come to be? And then start to walk me through. You have 4 classmates who are on board with you. You're the CEO and founder, but you've got 4 of your UCLA Anderson classmates who have, I guess they trust you. They've given you, they see your vision for themselves and they're seeing how they can participate. You're an example I would love more Anderson students to hear, because I would love them to be inspired and say, well, goodness, if Brandon could do it, maybe I could do it. So kind of help us understand some of the steps in the journey that have gotten you so far.
Okay, well, starting with my experience at NYU, I finished the film and television program at Tisch, and at the time I was inspired by the filmmaker Robert Rodriguez, who made a movie, for pennies on the dollar, and it became this big sensation. And that was inspiring, that someone without the help of Hollywood infrastructure could create, a big Hollywood product with his own creativity and his own friends, etc. And so I studied his book, Rebel Without a Crew.
Nice.
I was really inspired by the idea that of the democratization of content creation, right? That we didn't need anyone's approval in Hollywood to go make a Hollywood movie. And so I wrote, produced, and directed 3 independent movies of my own. And they weren't as successful as the ones Robert Rodriguez did, of course. But I had a little business model. We would sell them to home video. And when the video stores closed and that business model sort of went away, I ended up editing and producing reality TV for quite a while. I did shows like Flavor of Love, Rock of Love, I Love New York, all the trashy house reality shows.
Hey, somebody's got to make it.
And that was a great paycheck. I bought a house in Culver City with that money, and or I paid a mortgage with that money. And after a while, though, I got sick of it. It just killed my spirit. I launched a company manufacturing film equipment that made it easy for filmmakers to execute Hollywood cinematography without the help of a large crew or a budget. I launched a Kickstarter project for it. I got J.J. Abrams, the producer director, to back the project, but it let me get in too far over my head too fast with manufacturing business.
And precision manufacturing too. This was high-end stuff you were making.
It was a learning curve that never quite got over.
Okay.
And I almost lost my house. I mean, it was just destroyed me financially and emotionally, you know, that I let all these let a lot of Kickstarter backers down. It didn't become a great, awesome thing. Anyway, I folded that business and wanted to launch another startup that had nothing to do with physical products, right?
Yeah.
At the time, I'm reading about all these other people that are doing digital products for in the entertainment filmmaking space, and I went looking for startup incubators, right? Because I knew what went wrong with my previous business was that I didn't have a team.
Okay.
I was trying to do everything myself.
Okay.
And wow, was that frustrating. And so I went looking for startup incubators and communities where I might meet engineers. And sort of in my Google search for that, I stumbled upon the Anderson Venture Accelerator.
Nice.
And so I thought,
Thank
that's
you, Google.
interesting.
We appreciate Brandon.
Yeah.
Thank you. If you're out there listening.
But I thought, that's interesting that I could go back into academia and surround myself with a peer population from which I might assemble a proper startup team. Engineers, finance people, et cetera. And so, a few years later, after studying for the GMAT and after doing the tour of Anderson with you, here I am. And it worked out as I had planned. From my own section in my FEMBA 2020 year, Section 2, I have assembled a team with backgrounds in engineering, finance, strategy, marketing. And so that's the well-rounded team of complementary skill sets and personalities that we've seen in the video. And,
That was
couldn't.
Samantha, Taylor, Anupam,
Right.
Aaron. Those are not actors. Those are your real Anderson classmates. And they all have jobs and lives and hopes and dreams. None of them walked in the door of UCLA going, I hope I can create a company with Brandon.
Anupam did, but
he
he
did.
didn't know who I was.
Oh, that's nice.
And I didn't know who he was.
Okay.
And the two of us are just over the moon, whether this thing works out famously or falls on his face. He and I are just so ecstatic that we found each other. We get along and know how to argue. I really found the engineer that I needed, and he found the sort of insane person that has this crazy idea that can help drive it forward.
And what were the conversations like? I mean, how did you get started? Was it sequential, or were you did you send a note to your section? How did people come to know that you wanted to do this?
So the first year at Anderson, I really just, with all our required classes, I really got to know my fellow classmates and really sort of focused on the schoolwork, letting the seed of an idea sort of, percolate in my brain. Our data and decisions professor, Hamed Mamani, was inspiring in that he was doing some really cool stuff, not in entertainment, but in the healthcare space with data. And I started conversations with him about how I might use data science to create an application for filmmakers. And there was an Airbnb guest at my house who had an AI company from India, and this is totally random, but this guy from Stride AI, they do AI for NASDAQ, Moody's, ING, Santander, big global financial institutions. He basically, his technology basically reads financial documents. And over the course of him staying at my Airbnb unit 3 or 4 times, he and I befriended each other and began talking about how we might pivot his technology to read screenplays, not financial documents. And so that's where the idea for Script Maestro really grew out of. I saw what he was doing in finance with natural language understanding and artificial intelligence, and how he, as an entrepreneur, was just leveraging all the engineers that did the work for him. He encouraged me to go forward with the idea, that it was possible, that it was achievable, that he would sort of hold my hand through the process. And I had conversations. He's become my mentor. And he and I would have discussions about who I needed to find to round out my team, the engineer being the most critical one. And I think the fact that I had a successful artificial intelligence entrepreneur that went through the Techstars program, who is a Techstars mentor, who's doing several millions dollars a year in business in the AI space, that I did, the crazy entertainment guy, had that guy as a mentor and friend, that lent my classmates a huge deal of confidence in my idea, because that idea had been sort of certified by this successful entrepreneur. So that was a big component of it. So a lot of my classmates, I think, were attracted to the idea. It made selling the idea to them a lot easier, that I had, that I'd sort of been pre-qualified.
Yeah.
And going through the BCO process, that's not easy here. If you come to this school, the faculty will encourage you to do the GAP program or AMR. And it doesn't, even from when you start here, it doesn't sound easy to do BCO, the business creation option, as the capstone project. And maybe for good reason. We don't want everyone starting companies just to experiment with them, which some people do. I think it's better if more of the startups coming through this program are organic and have are making an actual attempt at a real business. But anyway, even if you are in that position, if you're like me, where you really want to launch a business, it's still difficult to navigate the matrix of rules here about launching a startup as your capstone project. And so I got help from Gonzalo, who sort of gave me all the check boxes that I needed. And
Gonzalo Freixas is our associate dean of,
he was super helpful. But basically it was bring back a team into my office and show me that you've attracted the support of a well-rounded team that is behind you with this idea, and that's going to make going through getting into BCO much easier.
Nice. And because part of how we came to know each other is, we just kind of bumped into each other on campus, and we're going to talk about envelopes of serendipity in a minute, because this is a really fantastic phrase that Brandon has. But when did you've been taking advantage of the relationships that are available with the Venture Accelerator and the support that's available with Trish Halamandaris and her team in the library there with the Venture Accelerator. When did that bridge get built?
Well, as I said, in my Google search for startup accelerators, I found the Anderson Venture Accelerator.
Oh, that's right. That was even before you started school. You became aware of that.
The whole reason I aspired to a top-tier MBA program like Anderson, Harvard, Stanford, MIT, there are probably a few others, but that's basically the core of MBA programs that have and promote their Venture Accelerator programs. That was the thing that sparked my interest in an MBA.
Okay.
And so I went searching for that Venture Accelerator and the people running it when I started classes here. And so about a year and a half ago, I just looked up on campus groups. I'm always looking for entrepreneurial events that are going on here on campus. And I found some talks that Trish was organizing for her current cohort of startup founders. And I went down and introduced myself to her and said, I have this idea on how to use my friend's AI technology and pivot it into an application for screenwriters. So she became aware of my idea a long time ago.
So you've been attracting mentors, you've been attracting partners. So some of this it really is just kind of accruing resources and relationships around you.
Yeah, collecting minds and collecting support, which, the phrase of mine that you like, that I consider this campus to be an envelope of serendipity where accidental but awesome relationships happen. these relationships we're discussing, the mentors, the advisors, the complementary personalities and skill sets that I've assembled as a team, they all came from that envelope of serendipity, meaning I consider this campus, and more specifically, the Anderson footprint on this campus, and to some extent Westwood Village. There are a lot of brilliant intellectual minds here in Westwood Village. Once I leave this envelope, the probability of me encountering someone with the intellect and the track record to help push my idea forward just falls off a cliff. And so, as I told you, I don't like to cross Wilshire Boulevard unless I'm going to LAX and doing something important.
Well, and you did leave Culver City, so you sold your home during school or before school?
The first year here, I still had the home in Culver City, but I saw the need for me spending all of my time here on campus if I was going to complete the MBA program and launch a startup from it and attract and collect the minds that I needed to surround this idea and help it live and breathe. And so last year, this time, I sold my house and I've moved into graduate student housing so that all of my time is spent here surrounded by the sort of happy accidents that might happen. Because this is a 3-year window of opportunity for me, this FEMBA program. And once that 3-year window closes, that's it. I kind of feel like when you're a student, people really want to help you. When you're an alum, the tone changes a little bit. And so, I'm really gathering all the support that I can while I'm here and making the best of it while I'm here. Sometimes at the expense of my classwork, but I didn't come here to go to investment banking. I didn't come here to be the A-plus consultant student. I came here to launch a startup, and so it's what I spend most of my time doing here on campus.
I love that. Just it's a build your own adventure type environment. UCLA. There's no one way to do this. We have 900 students. There are 900 different versions of this playing out in parallel. There are 125 other graduate programs of study at UCLA. This is Westwood Village is it's an apex geographic spot on the planet. People move from other states, from other countries. They move their entire life around such that they have a window here. And I love, what was so exciting for me about the chance that we could tell your story was that, you're a proof point of a way to go about it. And I think you're very much a model of getting on the court. You're not waiting for your MBA to happen. You are on the court of your MBA, dribbling the ball. How am I going to make a shot? Who are my teammates? Takes 10 hands to make a basket. To quote, quote Coach Wooden at least once.
There you go.
So, and then you bring your own industry background and you bring your entrepreneurial experience with manufacturing and all the lessons learned and what it was like to be an individual contributor. And then you're continually learning. You're online, you find the venture accelerator. Oh, what about graduate school? What about that as a bridge? Then you put yourself through the hurdles to earn your seat. You earn your seat, and now you're maximizing it. So I just think that your story, I hope, can inspire other people to, well, if Brandon can do it,
Yeah, anyone can do it for a reason like mine, or a reason like they want to work for a top consultancy. But you said it, you have to earn your seat. And I did not, there was no way I was going through like a top 30 MBA program. I spoke with MBA advisors, and especially at my age, I'm 46 now. I was 43 when the idea got in my head. 44 when I was talking to the admissions consultant for MBA programs, and she just said, "Look, if it's like you're in a top 25 MBA program, I'm just going to say no way. Right? You need to be in a top 10." That's where the envelope of serendipity is. I just don't think it's at a top 40 school. I don't know where to make the cutoff. Maybe if for a younger person, you know, they've got some room to move in terms of what MBA program they go for. But for someone at my stage in life that was going to go through an MBA program for the express purpose of launching an entertainment technology startup, number one, this is the time where entertainment is marrying technology. Los Angeles is a city where that's happening. This institution is the one facilitating that the most. And then it has this top 10 MBA program.
Yeah.
And so I took 6 months off from working. I was doing like reality TV and producing some commercials and whatnot at the time. And I really took 6 months off to study for the GMAT. My aim was for a 99th percentile score for a 760 or higher. And those of you watching that are like studying for your MBA, you know what a challenge that could be.
Yeah.
I got a 750, right? And that was tough. But I was not going to get like a 600 score and be the guy that's, you know, at my age. I needed to be certain I would get the metrics that would get me into Anderson.
Well, thank you. You helped our class profile.
All right. Yeah. I knew that would be a component of it, but, you know, I also knew my that GMAT score is like, you know, kind of an all-important metric. And I worked at that because I knew it was worth the effort to earn my place in this envelope of serendipity, to have this window of opportunity for 3 years. Not so much for the pedigree or the education, but for the peer group, right? Friends of mine would ask me, why in the hell are you going to go through an MBA program? How good is that going to do you? What good is an MBA going to do you at this point in your life?
Yeah.
Wrong way to look at it. It's not what the MBA will do for me, it's what this population can do for me.
Nice.
And the relationships I can form while I'm here. So that's sort of my mental framework about this program. It's not so much the stamp and the pedigree or the education, but the peer group.
Well, and you make independent films, so you've been, you know, you have Script Maestro, but you also still have your other businesses, your previous businesses from producing media. So you've picked up some clients or projects from classmates, you were telling me, Pathwater.
Yeah, in fact, Harry Meng, who's also a FEMBA 2020, they founded that company before FEMBA, so he came into this program with being extremely busy in the middle of growing a startup. I think their valuation is like $16 or $17 million.
They're doing great. Yeah.
Right? And he's got this like enormous monthly payroll and all these headaches. And yet he still chose to come through this program. And I think, you know, one of the reasons was also the peer group, right? And so I'm producing some media for Pathwater. There's another company going through the accelerator called Microlit. They make precision medical products, where after this interview today, we're shooting a product demo at the Geffen School of Medicine.
So you're going to turn the table. You're going to run that one.
Yeah, I'll be
You're
the one
guest.
putting the wireless mic on somebody later tonight. But yeah, I mean, it's led to, aside from my grand aspirations of democratizing Hollywood with Script Maestro, it's also led to some more practical and pragmatic relationships where you know, I'm creating content for other entrepreneurs here.
And then I think we talked, you're going to be a presenter at Memes conference in a couple weeks.
Yeah, the Up Next conference.
Up Next
It used to be called the TEDx UCLA conference. The same kind of idea, where there will be speakers talking about subjects in sports, entertainment, media, and technology. And so I'll be giving a talk called The Decentralization of Hollywood Power, how AI and blockchain will democratize content creation.
Wow.
And it sounds, you know, like a big buzzwordy thing, but you know,
Hey.
it usually attracts attention. But the fact is that we're doing some of that here in the accelerator. There's a company that's using blockchain to crowdsource securities and help filmmakers finance their independent movies. The problem is that AI is usually, people are using it way too much as a buzzword. Artificial intelligence is not that artificial. Big data is not that big. Blockchain and tokenization are sometimes wrongly associated with cryptocurrency. They're being used for some very pragmatic things. And we are using those technologies here in the accelerator, my startup and other startups, to sort of hand the power of content creation back to the content creators themselves. Blockchain is simply just a ledger where, I used to produce independent films, and then I'd have to wait for the distributor who hoarded the ledger, the accounting ledger, for 60, 90, sometimes 180 days. There are companies that have a 365-day billing cycle in the record industry. Imagine that. You finance the thing, you produce the thing, you sell the thing, you've got to wait an entire year. With blockchain, there's no more cooking the books. Blockchain's just a ledger. And entertainment companies, not the entrenched ones, but new entertainment startups are using blockchain as the ledger. We're still getting paid in fiat currency, US dollars, euros, whatever. But the payments are instant because it's on a blockchain, because everyone can see the ledger, no one can cook the books. And with tokenization, it doesn't mean we're buying cryptocurrency tokens. It just means that I have, I can take ownership in someone's film or music project, and everyone has skin in the game. And so, I think there's just some really cool technologies that are being used in a very pragmatic way to disrupt and dematerialize Hollywood and sort of entertainment infrastructure. And they're converging right now in this city, Silicon Beach, at this institution, UCLA, on this campus, UCLA Anderson School of Management, in that basement under the library, the Anderson Venture Accelerator. I mean, it's really, sort of the, really concentrated space where these ideas of artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, and entertainment are converging.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, we're kind of coming to the end of our interview. I'm learning a lot, and I'm so excited because I want to see what happens next. Maybe a year from now we have a second interview. You could kind of tell me, because you're also moving with a lot of velocity. You're making stuff happen, and hearing your mentor when he was here presenting on campus. I guess I've started to end these interviews with I like to ask for a life hack or a productivity hack. And if someone's listening to this and they say, "Well, God, I want to be like Brandon. He's aspirational for me." What's either a point of view or a daily work habit or a weekly work habit? What's something you might want to share with our listeners that is helping you keep this velocity going? Because you really are moving with you got a lot of momentum going now.
Okay, I'll say something that speaks to the momentum that I've created, a life hack, that a lot of people will ask for permission. And it's way better just to go forward and break things if you have to, and then ask for forgiveness. So the mental framework for that is not who will let me, but who will stop me.
Not who will let me, but who will stop me.
Right? And then there's one I have particularly for this, my experience here at Anderson, is that the first year I sort of befriended the peer group. The second year I realized that I needed to befriend this institution, which is probably the thinking that led me here today doing this interview with you.
Well, I love it. I love it. As a person who's read a lot of admission application essays over the last 15, 17 years, when we look at someone who says they want to come to UCLA, I mean, everyone says that. That's pretty much a standard component of applying to grad schools. I would like to go to your institution. But then when people can undergird that statement with evidence of how they have lived their life that is congruent with what they say they want, their credibility goes up. And I love Professor Foster from the Global Access Program. He says, basically business is, you're asking three things over and over and over. Who are you? Where are you going? Can I trust you? Like we just all of us as we live a career, we're always building these relationships. And you talk about accidental but awesome relationships. And I see you when you say you want to befriend your peers. You have 4 peers who are launching a company with you.
Yeah.
You have accomplished that. When you say you are befriending the institution and you want to set up your life to have an envelope of serendipity and you sell your home and come to graduate student housing, most fully employed MBA program students don't do that. They could, I guess, in the world of anything is possible, but in the world of, if I were going to bet on it, I would bet the majority do not. I'm happy with the apartment or the home that I already have.
Sure.
But your actions match your language, and your results are following from that. And it's that's that kind of credibility that, like it's so funny. You're hosting a gentleman from India for multiple visits in your Airbnb, and you get to talking, and you learn about his world. He learns about your world. He becomes a mentor. You tell your classmates, "Wow, Brandon's got, he's not just a guy with a good idea. He's been trying."
I flew to India to have my friends, the engineers at his company in Bangalore, build the prototype for our technology.
Yeah, we forgot to tell them. We forgot to tell that. Yeah, that was part of the
way I got this thing off the ground. And like you said, my actions matched my words.
Yeah.
I told my peers I was launching a startup that would use AI to help screenwriters. Then I flew to Bangalore to a company that's filled with engineers who are the world's foremost experts on natural language understanding. And they built this something simple, but I went there and I did it and I walked my talk. There's a lot of people that go through this MBA program that are waiting for other people to walk the talk and waiting to see if it works out. This is your time to go forward and fail, I believe.
Well, I think that's great advice for all of us. We learn, after 30, you learn way more from failure than you do from success.
Yeah.
I think when first third of our life, great. Yay, gold stars, and that's all good. Trophies are wonderful. The middle third, I think, because you can't be an A+ student at all elements of your life.
Right.
If you have relationships and a career and have any type of pro bono, philanthropic, any kind of art in your life, there's just not enough hours in the day.
Right.
And it's humbling, and yet it's also, it can kind of true you up, and you can sharpen you can harden the steel, you can sharpen your sword, because you are choosing, I'm not going to do precision manufacturing for high-end equipment. But the lesson I learned from that is I do have an entrepreneurial spirit, and I want to do something digital.
Yep.
And it's still media, but now it's, now I'm going to support artists to polish their craft such that their story gets heard.
Right.
And I'm going to build partnerships between India and Los Angeles across my section within UCLA.
Yeah. Without the leverage of me being an MBA student here at UCLA Anderson, I do not know how I would have put that team together.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. It's a what do you call it? Something that, it has a shelf life. Like there's an asset. There's UCLA will be on your resume forever, but you're saying maybe it's different when I'm an alum in terms of, can I just put my name out there and get a door opened for me? The leverage and the legitimacy and the opportunity of the window of, I'm a student at UCLA, I'm a graduate student at UCLA,
Yeah,
I'm interested in your world, could I get in front of you?
I believe that's bigger than the MBA degree.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a right now element of bigness.
Yeah.
That you will have the 3 letters after your name, but you're a student while you're a student. So I'm so glad that this worked out. I appreciate you going first in our new video, our new video motif of the Drive Time podcast. Because I think your story it's a full-grown human being, full-grown story. And we remember stories. I remembered your story, and then as we reconnected during the program, and I could see how much ground you had taken. So just thank you for.
Welcome. Thank
you for coming in here and sitting in Corn Convocation Hall all with our audience of all our listeners in the digital
sure.
future that will become the outcome of this. So
Yeah, I'm honored.
yeah, appreciate you, and I can't wait to hear how it goes from here.
Hopefully I'll be back to talk with you soon.
Yeah, well, we hope to get you at Palooza this summer and put you in front of some people in that audience. Anything for people who want to kind of follow your journey? Website, LinkedIn, anything you'd want people to know about?
Geez, no, I don't know.
Well, we can put links under it as we put it up online.
We will have the Anderson Accelerator video series living on the Anderson social media channels soon.
Yeah.
And anyone that's interested in becoming an entrepreneur or launching a startup and coming through this program to do so, that would be a great way to get a better idea on how to do that, because it won't only be the Script Maestro story, but Newtopia, the blockchain financing company, companies in the medical space, in the apparel space. There'll be a plethora of stories about other Anderson entrepreneurs using the resources here to start their company. So I would point them towards the entrepreneurial videos on the Anderson social media channels.
Thank you. Yeah, so one way to track Brandon's the evolution of Script Maestro from here forward will be, actually on the Anderson website, and we'll put your LinkedIn in the show notes, and yeah, so
Great.
The world is waiting. We'll see what you create next.
Great. All right.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much, Brandon.
Thank you.